If you're here, you probably want to get up to speed quickly on something that's pretty fascinating, honestly. And today it's this whole weird thing that happened with the Edmonton Oilers after they had like this special visitor.
Yeah.
And we've got all this stuff from social media, obviously, that's blowing up, and then a full report that really digs into what happened.
Yeah.
So
I think the mission here is to really figure out what went down and the story that's just exploded from this whole thing, right?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are looking for they see the headlines, they see this stuff on social media, but they want that deeper dive into
right. They don't want to they don't want to wade through all the noise, right? They want to get to the core of the story and what's actually, interesting and unbelievable about this whole thing.
Okay. So to set the stage for everybody, just imagine this, right? The Canadian Prime Minister, Mark Carney, shows up at an Edmonton Oilers practice.
Okay.
But he's not just waving from the stands or something. He's actually out there on the ice, skating with the team.
Whoa. So right away, what's so interesting is how the fans reacted to this online.
Yeah.
The report highlights how Carney's hockey skills or maybe lack thereof, I guess, became instant meme material. Everybody was talking about that missed open net from close range.
Oh, it was brutal.
It was pretty brutal.
But, everyone was, like I said, it was all in good fun. Just, a little lighthearted ribbing of the Prime Minister.
Sure.
But this is where things get a little strange.
Okay.
So between that morning skate with Carney and their game that night, against the Jets, the Oilers got hit with what the report's calling a catastrophe of injuries.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And if we tie this back to how our brains actually work this rapid succession of bad events, that's a big deal, right? You've got star forwards, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl.
Oh, yeah.
And then their starting goalie, Stuart Skinner.
All injured within just hours of each other.
It's insane.
And that's a huge blow to any team's chances.
Right. Oh, yeah. You could lose a whole season over that.
Absolutely. And then get this right. They end up losing that night to the Jets 4-3.
Oh, man.
You can all see how the story starts to write itself.
Oh, yeah.
With, this sudden wave of bad luck.
Right after the Prime Minister shows up.
Right after this very public appearance by the Prime Minister. And it's bam, bam, bam.
Yeah. And this is what I think is so fascinating is this idea of the Carney Curse that popped up online almost immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
This is a perfect example of how our brains, they try to look for explanations.
They crave it.
They crave it. Even when we have very limited information, we want to find cause and effect.
Yeah.
And an event like the Prime Minister on the ice becomes such an easy thing to focus on, right?
Oh, totally. Especially when emotions are running high after a loss and injury.
And especially when it's it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You see the Prime Minister out there and he's whiffing on the puck and it's
it's memorable, right?
Yeah. And then all this bad stuff happens and it's just well,
oh, right. Exactly.
So, and it wasn't just the fans, sitting in the stands that were joking about this.
I mean, really?
Former NHL player Ryan Whitney even tweeted about it.
Okay.
And I've got the quote right here.
Yeah. What'd he say?
He said, "The Carney Curse is real for Edmonton."
Oh, my God.
What the hell just happened? Guy is on the ice with the Oil this morning, and now everyone is injured.
So that just adds another layer to this whole thing. Even if he's being tongue-in-cheek, it still gives the whole thing more credibility.
Yeah, it makes it real, because you've got this respected, ex-NHL player coming out being
yeah, I believe in this curse.
Yeah, the Carney Curse is real.
It's wild.
So, I mean, it kind of feels to me the main takeaway here is that we have this totally unbelievable sequence of events.
Right.
Right. We have a Prime Minister, just having a friendly skate, gets a little teasing online, and then boom.
Injuries galore.
All these injuries, a crushing loss.
And the Carney Curse is born.
The Carney Curse is born.
Yeah, and it really just highlights our human tendency to want to connect things and create stories.
Even if they're not really connected.
Even when those connections are totally coincidental.
Yeah, and it's so interesting how quickly a narrative that can just become the accepted truth.
The dominant narrative.
It's solidified.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's all based on this seemingly random series of events.
So here's something for everyone to really think about. Okay.
Yeah.
How powerful is our perception Really? Like, how often are we building these narratives, these curses, these like, unexpected consequences after things happen that seem totally harmless? Like, what other situations, whether it's in sports or even in our own lives, might we look back on and think like, oh, was that like the start
of a turning point?
Yeah, like the turning point where everything went wrong.
Wow.
Just something to think about.
Yeah.
It really makes you wonder, how much of this stuff is actually connected and how much is just us like making connections where there are none.
Our brains just trying to understand the world.
Exactly.
Fascinating stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Really is.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.
It was fun.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll see everybody next time.
See y'all.